Have you ever woken up after 65 and felt feeny, yet somehow weaker than you used to be without knowing why? That question hit me one morning and refused to let go. Nothing dramatic had happened. No pain, no diagnosis, no warning. But as I sat on the edge of the bed, I noticed my legs felt heavier than they should. Standing up took an extra second. Not enough to scare me, just enough to make me uncomfortable. For years, my mornings looked right. I woke up, stretched a little, went for a short walk, had my coffee, and told myself I was doing what everyone says keeps you healthy after retirement. And for a long time, that routine felt safe, familiar, predictable. But after 65, something changed. I didn't feel worse. I felt subtly less capable. My balance wasn't gone, but it wasn't automatic anymore. My steps were cautious without me choosing to be cautious. What bothered me most was how quiet this change was. No alarms, no sharp decline, just small signals my body was sending every morning that I had been ignoring. My circulation felt slower. My legs needed more time to wake up. Even simple things, standing at the sink, turning quickly, stepping outside, required more awareness than before. That's when I realized something important. Decline doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it whispers. I remember one morning in particular. I walked, like always, same path, same pace. But halfway through, my legs felt tired, in a way walking never fixed anymore. I finished the walk, drank my coffee, and waited for that familiar sense of energy to arrive. It didn't. Instead, the rest of my day followed the same pattern: slow start, stiff movements, careful steps. That's when it finally clicked. My morning wasn't restoring me anymore. It was simply repeating itself. And repetition, I learned, is not the same as support, especially after 65. I wasn't failing. My routine was built for who I used to be, not for the body I had now. What surprised me most was how emotional that realization felt, because mornings set the tone. When your morning feels unstable, the rest of the day quietly follows that same path. I knew then that if I wanted my health to move forward, my mornings had to change first, but not in a dramatic way. In a functional, realistic way, one that actually matched my body now, and that's where the real shift began. Before I go any further, let me pause for just a moment, because what you're understanding right now is more important than most people realize. If any part of this morning story feels familiar to you, it means your body is sending you signals to, and ignoring those signals is exactly how small declines quietly become big limitations later on. This is why I always encourage you to really process what you're hearing here. Not just listen, but reflect. Because understanding your body after 65 isn't about fear, it's about control. And control starts with awareness. If this resonates with you, take a second and leave a comment below. Even something simple like this feels familiar, or I noticed this too. Writing it down helps lock the insight in your mind. And it also helps others realize they're not alone in this stage of life. I read the comments carefully because they tell me exactly what you're experiencing right now. And if this kind of conversation matters to you, real, functional health, not promises or extremes, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. That tells the platform to keep showing you content that actually supports your independence, balance, circulation, and daily confidence as you age. Now, the next part is important, because once I realized my old routine was failing me, I had to confront a belief I had trusted for decades, a belief many people over 60 still hold on to without questioning it. For most of my adult life, I believed one thing without ever questioning it. If you walk every day, you're doing enough. I didn't invent that belief. Doctors said it. Friends repeated it. Articles praised it. Walking was presented as the safest, smartest answer for aging body. And for a long time, it worked well enough that I never challenged it. After 65, I kept walking because it felt responsible. It felt familiar, and honestly, it felt comforting to believe that something so simple was protecting my future. Every morning, I put on my shoes, stepped outside, and told myself I was investing in my health. But slowly, something didn't add up anymore. The walk was happening, yet my legs still felt heavy afterward. My balance didn't feel sharper. My confidence, while moving, didn't grow. In fact, some mornings, I felt more unstable after the walk than before it. That confused me. Walking was supposed to wake my body up, not leave it feeling unfinished. What I didn't understand back then was this. Walking keeps you moving, but it doesn't always keep you functional. Especially after 65, when circulation slows, stabilizing, muscles weaken, and the nervous system needs more specific signals. Walking moves you forward, but it doesn't always challenge balance. It doesn't wake up deep circulation in the legs, and it rarely trains the muscles that stop a fall before it happens. I remember one moment that really forced me to see this clearly. I was walking on a familiar sidewalk when I stepped slightly uneven. Nothing dramatic, but my body reacted slower than it used to. I caught myself, but the delay scared me. That delay wasn't about strength. It was about control. And walking hadn't been training that anymore. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't failing to walk enough. Walking itself was no longer enough for me. My body had changed, but my habit hadn't. And habits that don't evolve eventually stop protecting you. The hardest part was letting go of that belief. Because when something has worked for decades, you trust it. You defend it. You don't want to admit it needs an upgrade. But after 65, your body doesn't respond to tradition. It responds to precision. That realization opened a door I didn't expect. If walking wasn't addressing circulation, balance, and leg stability anymore, then what small change would? That question led me to notice one overlooked detail in my mornings. Something so simple I had ignored it for years. Yet it changed how my legs felt before noon. What surprised me wasn't discovering something new or complicated. It was realizing how much my mornings rushed my body instead of preparing it. For years, I went from bed to movement almost immediately. Wake up, stand, walk, coffee, repeat. I thought speed meant discipline, but after 65, speed was working against me. One morning, instead of stepping straight into activity, I stayed still for a moment, not sitting to rest, standing to feel. I paid attention to my legs before asking them to work. And that's when I noticed something I had ignored for a long time. My legs weren't online. Yet, circulation hadn't fully reached them. They felt cool, heavy, slightly disconnected, as if my brain and my feet were waking up at different times. That was the missing link. My body wasn't weak. It was unprepared. I started giving my mornings a transition, a short window where I let circulation rise gently before demanding movement. No equipment, no workouts, just deliberate, slow activation. I shifted weight from foot to foot. I stood tall and let blood move downward. I noticed warmth returning to my calves and ankles. The heaviness faded before I ever stepped outside. The change was subtle, but the effect wasn't. My walk felt different, more controlled. My feet landed with confidence instead of caution. The familiar stiffness that used to follow me into late morning didn't show up anymore. And what shocked me most was how fast this happened. Not in weeks, but in days. This wasn't exercise in the traditional sense. It was circulation awareness. I stopped treating my legs like machines and started treating them like systems. Systems that need flow before force. One morning, while standing at the kitchen counter, I realized something else had changed. I wasn't leaning for support anymore. My posture felt taller. My balance felt automatic again, the way it used to feel years ago. That's when it hit me. Circulation isn't just about comfort. It's about communication between your brain, your legs, and the ground. By respecting that connection, first thing in the morning, I wasn't just warming up my body. I was restoring trust in it. And once that trust came back, something unexpected happened the following week, a moment so ordinary, yet so telling, that it confirmed I was finally moving in the right direction. It wasn't during a walk or anything I would normally call exercise. It happened in the most ordinary way possible. I was standing in the kitchen, turning to reach for a mug behind me, when I realized I didn't brace myself first. No hesitation, no tightening. My body just moved smoothly, naturally, and stopped exactly where it needed to. That may sound insignificant, but if you're over 65, you know how rare that feeling becomes. Those small turns are usually where instability shows up. A slight wobble, a hand reaching for the counter, a pause to regain balance. That morning, none of that happened, and it stopped me in my tracks. For years, I had adjusted my movements without realizing it. I turned slower. I widened my stance. I avoided quick shifts. I told myself I was being careful, but deep down, it was compensation. That morning was the first time I noticed the compensation was gone. As the days passed, these moments kept appearing. Standing from a chair felt lighter. Walking across uneven ground didn't trigger that familiar alert in my mind. Even my posture changed without effort. I wasn't trying to stand straighter. I just was. My body felt organized again, as if all the parts were finally talking to each other. What struck me most was how this confidence came before strength. My legs didn't suddenly look different, but they felt reliable. And reliability is everything after 65. It's what allows you to live alone, to move freely, to stop worrying about falling every time you change direction. One afternoon, I realized I had stopped thinking about my feet altogether. That constant background awareness, the quiet fear of misstepping, had faded. My balance had become automatic again. Not because I trained harder, but because I finally supported my nervous system the way it needed. This was when I understood something important. Stability doesn't come from effort alone. It comes from preparation. When circulation is active, when your body feels grounded early in the day, your balance doesn't have to fight to exist. It simply shows up. That realization made me curious. If such a small adjustment could restore this much control, what else had I been overlooking? Especially when it came to balance itself. The one thing everyone fears losing, yet few know how to truly protect. What surprised me next was realizing I wasn't working on balance at all, yet my balance was clearly improving. I wasn't doing difficult movements, standing on unstable surfaces, or pushing my body into positions that felt unsafe. In fact, I avoided anything that made me tense, and that turned out to be the key. For a long time, I thought balance was something you had to force. Stand longer on one leg. Challenge yourself until you wobble. But after 65, forcing balance only teaches your body one thing: fear. And fear tightens everything. Muscles lock up. Breathing changes. Control disappears. Instead, my balance began returning when my body felt calm and ready. Once circulation was active and my legs felt connected to the ground, balance stopped being a separate task. It became a side effect. I noticed it when I walked and turned my head at the same time, when I stepped over small obstacles without looking down, when I shifted my weight naturally instead of thinking about it. The biggest change wasn't physical, it was neurological. My reactions felt faster again. Not rushed, just timely. That slight delay I used to feel when correcting a step was gone. And that matters more than strength. Because falls don't happen when you're weak, they happen when your body reacts too late. One morning, I caught myself standing on one leg while putting on my shoe, something I hadn't done confidently in years. I wasn't testing myself. I wasn't proving anything. My body simply chose the most efficient way to move, the way it used to before caution took over. That's when I understood balance isn't trained, it's restored. It comes back when your nervous system trusts your body again. When circulation supports the small stabilizing muscles in your ankles and hips, when your posture isn't collapsing from stiffness or fatigue. I also realized why walking alone hadn't helped anymore. Walking moves you forward, but it doesn't teach your body to stabilize sideways, rotate, or stop suddenly. Balance lives in those transitions. And once my mornings began preparing my system instead of rushing it, those transitions became smooth again. This gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time: quiet confidence. Not the kind that comes from pushing limits, but the kind that lets you move through your day without constantly checking yourself. And that confidence didn't stop at balance. It began to influence the rest of my day in ways I didn't expect. My energy, my posture, even how long my body stayed comfortable after morning ended. What I didn't expect was how long the effect of a better morning would last. I assumed the benefits would fade by late morning the way they always used to, but they didn't. My body carried that early sense of readiness with it, hour after hour, without me trying to hold on to it. Before this change, my days followed a predictable pattern. Mornings were stiff. Late morning felt slightly better. By mid-afternoon, my legs were tired again. My posture collapsed a little, and my movements became cautious. I planned my day around that decline without admitting it to myself. After 65, you start negotiating with your energy instead of trusting it. But once my mornings became intentional instead of rushed, that cycle broke. My circulation stayed active longer. My legs didn't feel heavy by noon, even standing for extended periods. Felt easier, not because I pushed through discomfort, but because the discomfort never arrived in the first place. What changed most was how my body handled transitions. Sitting to standing, standing to walking, turning, reaching, stepping sideways. Those moments used to drain energy because my body had to reboot each time. Now they flowed together, and when movement flows, fatigue loses its grip. One afternoon, I realized I had been on my feet far longer than usual without thinking about it. No stiffness creeping in. No urge to sit just to feel safe. That's when it became clear the morning wasn't just preparing my body for activity. It was teaching my nervous system how to manage the entire day. This is the power of small, consistent habits after 65. They don't give you sudden bursts of strength. They give you resilience. The kind that protects your independence quietly, day after day. The kind that makes living alone feel possible instead of risky. I also noticed something: emotional shift. When your body stops signaling danger, your mind relaxes. I stopped planning my movements so carefully. I stopped scanning the ground constantly. That mental freedom was just as valuable as the physical one. That's when I understood why aggressive routines fail so often for people our age. They create short-term effort, but no lasting support. What works is rhythm, repetition, habits that respect how an aging body actually adapts. And that realization led me to one final thought, something I wish someone had told me years ago, before I spent so long forcing routines that no longer fit. Looking back now, the biggest lesson wasn't about mornings, balance, or circulation by themselves. It was about timing and respect. After 65, your body doesn't respond well to force. It responds to alignment. And alignment starts with how you treat the first hour of your day. For a long time, I believed aging meant choosing between doing less or pushing harder. Those felt like the only options. Either slow down and accept decline, or fight it aggressively and hope your joints survive. What I didn't see was the third path, working with the body instead of against it. I learned that decline often accelerates not because we stop moving, but because we keep using old strategies on a new body. The body after 65 is still capable, but it demands precision. It needs circulation before effort, stability before speed, awareness before repetition. What surprised me most was how quickly things changed once I stopped trying to maintain and started trying to support my legs before asking them to carry me, support my balance before challenging it, support my nervous system before testing it. That shift alone gave me back something priceless: trust. Trust that my body would respond when I needed it. Trust that my feet would land where I expected. Trust that turning, stepping, and standing wouldn't turn into moments of risk. That trust is the foundation of independence. Without it, even strong people live cautiously. With it, even simple days feel full again. I also realized something deeply important. Longevity isn't about adding years. It's about protecting capacity, the ability to get up, move freely, change direction, and live without constant adjustment. And that capacity is shaped quietly, every morning, long before the rest of the day begins. If there's one thing I wish I had understood earlier, it's this. The body doesn't break all at once. It fades in small, reversible steps, and those steps can be guided back gently when you stop ignoring the signals and start responding to them. That's why I share this, not to scare anyone and not to promise miracles, but to show that functional health after 65 is still very much in your hands if you're willing to change how you begin your day. If you've stayed with me all the way to the end, it tells me something important. This isn't just curiosity for you. It's personal. It means you care about staying capable, steady, and independent as the years move forward. And that already puts you ahead of most people. If this story connected with you, I want you to leave a comment below with just one sentence. My mornings are changing. Writing that down isn't for me. It's for you. It marks the moment you decided to stop ignoring the small signals and start supporting your body in a way that actually works after 65. If this conversation helped you see your mornings differently, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. That small action helps this kind of content reach people who need it. People who are quietly worried about balance, circulation, and losing autonomy, just like many of us are. And don't stop here! The next video appearing on your screen goes deeper into how simple daily habits protect your legs, your stability, and your confidence over time. Click it and keep building on what you started today. Thank you for being here. Your body is still listening. And now you know how to answer